So we are back with our October Body Love Chats, and I have a little one downstairs crying if you hear noise in the background. But we are talking to Lauren Schlansky today, which I am excited. Lauren's a dear friend of mine. And while we're waiting for her to go on, there she is right there. I can give any of you that don't know about me or haven't been able to watch one of these before my information, which my name's Amanda Bicking, and I am the owner of Mend. Hi, Lauren. So go ahead and you can request to join at the bottom, I think. And I am a style clairvoyant, a body love coach, and a designer. And I'm holding these body love chats to hopefully find a connection with all of us or have empathy in our shared stories. I've been chatting with a lot of people and friends. Here's Lauren. And thought that this would be a really way to be in community and share these experiences together. So if any of this rings true for you and you want to, hi Lauren, I was just giving my normal chat here in the beginning. I was just saying, if any of this rings true for anybody and they want to share their story as well, feel free to DM me, and I'll keep these going as long as people are interested. And if you need some extra support, any of you watching, with your measurements, with your body story, with styling, anything like that, feel free to send me a DM as well or check out my services. The 30-day style journey is one that I'm really excited about. And my books are closed in October, but I'd be excited to get anybody scheduled or work in November. So there's that. Thanks for joining, Lauren. So what I do at the top, just to make sure I don't forget, is have you just go ahead and give an introduction to yourself, what you do, where people can find you if they're interested, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you. So I'm Lauren. I'm an intuitive healer, a Reiki master, a massage therapist, dabbling in all the things. To hear more about my healing offerings, just my Instagram here is at Lauren Schlansky. You can pop on over, and there's a link to my website and all the things. And I'd love to have anyone who is interested to see what that's about. And I've been working with you for a bit now, and I think I've dabbled in all of your offerings, or tried almost all of them. Or
I think so.
Yeah. So you have been an extensive part of my journey. Oh, Beth's here. Hi, Beth.
Yay. Hey, Beth.
So yeah, I'm excited to chat.
Yeah. So Lauren and I are new friends, new virtual friends this year. And I think we met almost a year ago now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, a year ago in October, I think.
Yeah. So it's been like lovely. I've also tried a lot of Lauren's services and they're wonderful too. So we'll just share the love back and forth with each other. But yeah, so I had started some of these in September and you were able to tune into them and you said you wanted to share, which I love. I love the volunteer. So what compelled you, or what, made you want to raise your hand and chat and share your story?
Just listening to everybody talk, I had watched Karen and Beth on here, and I was like, I feel like I have so much to say about all this. And, as women, this is stuff we don't even talk about. And I was even thinking about this earlier today, because I was thinking about like middle school, when, we only want to wear the things like everybody else wants to wear. Like we really never developed like our own sense of styles.
Yeah.
Like growing up. So there's just so much to be said for that journey, and just as a woman coming into your body and how we're seen in the world. And there's just so much to share.
Yeah. The middle school thing is interesting too, because when I often tell people about my journey with style in particular, an example I always talk about in a way that it helped me as a tool was that, I guess maybe more like in high school, when it was really scary, because I was such an introvert and still can be, to use my voice, like being able to play with what I wore, and I started making things at the time too, was like a really fun and also felt like a safe way to express myself and try things out. And so that was kind of that's when I started being interested in fashion because I think it was, I don't know. I mean, not that style is always easy, but it felt like this way. It didn't have to be this big like thing. I didn't have to like speak up in front of people. I could just kind of like feel at home trying out what was on my body. So
Yeah, and I think that's so interesting because like in the opposite experience, like that
yeah,
was a way for me to like blend in and not
yeah,
stand out and like be one like with
yeah,
everybody,
yeah,
right? And it's like looking back, I mean, the 90s were horrible and
yeah,
early 2000s for
yeah,
style. Like we
yeah,
just have to like put that out there. But I was like, did I actually like or want to wear
yeah.
any of this stuff anyway? And none of that was like flattering to my body, like
Hmm.
at all.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's just really interesting, I think, as someone who, you know, not in fashion and not in style, like we just never really get encouraged to like do our own thing because it's like you want to be like everybody else, or at least in my
yeah.
experience.
Well, you and I are both, for anybody watching that knows about human design, we're both 2 4s. I have a lot of 2 4s in my life. And it's interesting because the thing that comes up a lot for me, but I think for 2 4s is like the wanting to be seen, but also not wanting to be seen like
Yeah.
all the time. It's this dynamic. And I think for me, like in high school, I wanted to be seen because I felt overlooked. I felt like I wasn't in the cool crowd, that thing, but I also didn't want to be seen either, right? So like just like playing with what I wore was kind of like a safe like trial to see how I wanted to be seen. It like let me not blend in a little bit when there's all other different types of ways I try to blend in. So I think that's like interesting to hear how, you say the opposite. I love like hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very in the two phase, the like
Yeah.
internal like
Yeah. Yeah.
blend in phase of my life. And but yeah, I think also when I told you I wanted to chat, I was like, I have to come on here. And like, I think for me, like my body story and my fashion has been like greatly influenced like by my boobs, like
Hmm. Yeah.
my entire life. And not that I got boobs early or anything like that. Um, I think I was like right in the middle of the pack, but there was kind of like that point of like some girls were wearing bras and like some
Yeah.
girls weren't wearing bras. And I
Yeah.
remember I had a friend who like definitely had boobs and she had come over and my mom was like, whoa, like she's a woman. And I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like with our bodies changing. And then I definitely like really had them in middle school and like that attracts attention,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
you can't wear a shirt like standing next to like a flat-chested person, like it's like sexually suggestive,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was always like wishing like they were smaller and like wanting to like wear things like that would, you know, be for like girls with like smaller boobs and
Yeah.
like you know like all those like kind of like empire waist like baby
Yeah.
doll like kind of things that were like really cute like back
Yeah,
in the
they
day,
were.
like you can't do that with
Right.
boobs. Like
Right. Yeah. Because it
at
just like
all
all scrunches right in your
crunches
boobs.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
horrible. And then that had just kind of been like a thing that like stuck with me like, you know, in high school, like I just have like I remember I was wearing this shirt once and one of my friends was like, "Oh, like this guy Josh really likes when you wear that shirt. He always says your boobs look great." And I was
Gross.
like, "Really?" Because like I had like not even thought of myself as like a sexualized like
Yeah.
person, like you know, like in that way.
Yeah.
And then you know I was like, oh, like well that's like what gets like guys attention, you know, like so
Right.
maybe like this is good. So it was always kind of like really that line of like, you know, like when I get dressed, like I automatically like A, am attracting that, but like does that make me slutty? And then like I had girlfriends, you know, who had no boobs who would be like, you look like a slut, you know,
Right.
like you look like a whore, like and like
Right.
literally saying that to me. So I'd be like, oh okay, but like it was just a dynamic of like, you know, like is this good and is this bad, and like is the attention good or like is the attention bad? And it really
Yeah.
like I feel like can kind of like screw with your head as you go forward, like in life. Like, did you have boobs in high school?
Yeah, probably more in college,
Yeah.
which is like can be the best time to have them. But I actually, again, like that weird gray area of like wanting to be seen but not. Like I remember like wanting in a weird way to be kind of like sexualized or have like the attention because again, I was like I think I'm pretty cute, but I wasn't like the popular group or whatever, that sort of thing. And so, first of all, it was a journey because my freshman year, I was like the only girl that played volleyball that would wear like basketball shorts down to my knees. Like when I actually had to wear spandex, I was like, oh Lord, like, what am I going to do? But then as I got more used to it and stuff, and you hear guys talking about your bodies, like in lots of sports, but definitely in volleyball, like it would be weird because I'd be like, I don't want people to like talk about my body, but also like maybe I do.
Yeah.
And like you said,
Yeah.
it's like this like journey of figuring it out, and it can be really shameful too, which I was curious when you said that shirt, like was there a part of you too that was like, I never want to wear this again? Because I've
Oh
had that
yeah.
happen.
There was a
Yeah.
part, I think that was like my first like coming into it. I was like sort of like oblivious and I was like, oh, like this is kind of like this is weird, and I think I liked it and I liked the attention.
Yeah.
I was like, I think that means that like I must look good, like
Right. Right.
that sort of thing. But then there was also like the part of me, and then this has also been a struggle for me that continues to this day, and we've talked about it, like I'm a really small person.
Yeah.
So for like me to wear something baggy, like
Yeah.
looks ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
and on your boobs, like it looks friggin' weird. Like then you
Yeah.
look like heavier than you are. So it was kind of like I would like put on something else and I'd be like, well, like this looks horrible. And like I like wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
So that would like ultimately like win out for me is that like I'd be like, well, like in order to like show that I'm not like, like a huge person, like I have to be wearing tight fitting clothing like all the
I
time.
had that too in college
Mm-hmm.
when all of a sudden I started having more boobs. And I remember thinking like the same thing, like, well, I can't wear something that's like too loose. I mean, now I have a lot of thoughts on oversized and stuff like that, but I think it's like that weird in between fit when it's not really oversized, but it's like just like hanging weirdly off your boobs that makes you look a lot bigger. But I remember also wearing a lot more fitted things because I had this impression of me that I looked a lot bigger when I wore things like that. And I remember um, thinking about how I want to say this. Somebody I knew that was more of a parental figure, not my parents, but somebody more like that, commenting about like sizing or something like that and saying like, well, she's got really big boobs. So like what size does she wear? Or it must be big, like a bigger size or something like that, which also felt like really weird to me because still do, but really had a thing about being called like big because I am opposite of you. I'm 5'10" and like broad shoulders and that sort of thing too. So anything that was like bigger was kind of weird, but also Beth knows she went to college with me. Like there was a point where I was like pretty happy with my boobs and like wearing low cut tops and things like that too. So it's a weird, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a weird dynamic.
it's a weird balance because I feel like in college, like I was like, like we're all going out, we're all wearing little
Right.
like tight dresses and like that's great. Like I like loved that. That was
Yeah.
like the element for me. But like at the same time, I felt like if I wasn't wearing like a dress that like wasn't skin tight to my body, like that I
Then
looked,
you looked fat, right?
yeah, fat.
Yeah, that's my
And
thought too.
yeah, my friends would always be like, you have to wear like the tightest dress like ever all the time. And I'd be like, well, like
Yeah.
I literally feel like if I like don't, like I, like don't like look good. Like it's like not like flattering, especially like I definitely like have like TNA, like boobs and butt, like
Yeah.
all the way, like, so that's just like kind of how my body is. And then I remember like at that time too being like, this is it, but still like garnering attention that like, like I liked, but like in college became more noticeable to me that I didn't really want, like very different from high school and college, right? Like you're
Right.
exposed to like a world of like different things. And it's like when I would be going out with my friends, it's like I would like look slutty and people would want to come up to me as opposed to my friend, you know, who just like looks like flat and as a board in a tight dress. Like it doesn't like have that look, you know,
Right.
of
Right.
like come here. So there's that sort of like mental game that,
Yeah.
you know, goes along with it.
Yeah.
And then I think like following that, like after I left college, like I lost a lot of weight, kind of like that, you know, like college, like, you know, like you stop like drinking and doing all the
Yeah.
things all the time, or at least in my college
Yeah.
experience, that's what we were doing. But, and you know, it got to a point of being like, I wouldn't call it an anorexia thing, but like more of like an orthorexia, like obsession with being healthy. Because what happened was my stomach was really bothering me after college, and
Yeah.
it was related to a lot of food intolerance. And then I just kind of went down that path, like in a really like not good way. But I lost a lot of weight and lost a lot of boob weight, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is amazing. And my boobs were like, you know, a cup size smaller, and I started to be able to wear things that like, you know, tops like that were maybe like would have been harder for me, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like back when my boobs were bigger. So that was obviously like an attraction to like keep being really healthy, because I was like, my boobs are like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, like great like this and like more manageable, and not like you're noticing like these huge things like
Yeah.
in your face, like in high school and in college. So that definitely like changed the story there a little bit for me, and I think like definitely perpetuated me into being like, I need to eat healthy all the time so I can maintain this weight, so I like keep my body like looking like this, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm so much more comfortable like when my boobs like are like a more like normal size for me, and not making everything look like extremely like,
Yeah.
you know, like slutty or whatever. And then after kind of like releasing from those behaviors and those things, like my boobs have stayed like the same, like normal, you know, like it wasn't
Yeah.
like that like puffiness of like, you know, all the hormones too of when we're in high school and college,
Yeah. Yeah.
all the things like contributing. But it then kind of still became to me that when I wear a tight shirt, like, you know, like here's like male attention, like in the workplace, like
Yeah.
men staring down my shirt all the time. I had this guy go into his office who'd just be like looking like straight down at my boobs the entire time. I'd be like, great, like, you know, like I'm up here,
Right.
you know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like other people like don't necessarily like then have to deal with that. And it's like I could even be wearing anything and like they're still looking, right? So
Right. Right.
it becomes this sort of thing. And then it's like then you buy, I went through a stage of like no tight tops, buying all these like blousey tops, like, you know, that like were not form fitting.
Right.
And I think I've kind of been, you know, like in my friend group, it was sort of just like, okay, like now that we're getting older, we have to like dress more sophisticated, like, you know, type of stuff. And you think like, can I still wear the tight top, you know, now
Right.
that I'm, you know, like in my 30s and like going up there, or the crop top and like all those things. And then I like got rid of all those clothes. And I think back up when we had been working recently together, you were, I was saying too, I was like, I want to like show off my boobs now. Like we should be able to like show these things off.
Yeah.
And like I kind of been like, why did I get rid of all that stuff? Because I had been like so shamey
Right.
about like all of the things.
Yeah. I had a really hard time when I started my first job. I think that's like can be a really difficult time to figure out your style and what feels right, because you're wanting to show up and be professional, but at least for me, the budget I was spending on clothes was not much. And so like I wasn't, and I didn't know what like a good fit looked like, even though I'd gone through fashion school and stuff like that, unless I made my own clothes. And so when I would try to feel confident, sometimes I would wear things that were more form fitting. Plus I was taller than everyone else and stuff. And then I started getting comments from certain people I worked with, men that I worked with about like, you look really good in that today. Like stuff that was just like
Yeah.
enough that you were like, I don't love this. And then it was like, yeah, like a question of like, well, what should I wear? Like what's, like you said, it's like the opposite, like end of the spectrum. And really, I think it came down to like understanding how things fit better and like what would have been have more structure but still make me feel good and stuff like that. And it's just really hard to figure out, especially when all of a sudden like then it carries shame and you're like then you're aware. It's kind of nice to be oblivious, but then once you're aware that people are looking at you and watching you, it's can be a lot to figure out and a lot of pressure for sure.
Yeah, no, totally. And then you think of like we like used to have this running joke like in the workplace of like, do you like want to like get like something you want, like wear a tight top today? Like go
Yeah.
in and ask for it.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
terrible because it like so it's the masculine world is like dictating like our entire like clothing
Mm-hmm.
choices like in a
Yeah.
way, which is really like not how it should be. And I even think of, going outside, if I wear, like to work out, if I wear leggings and a sports bra, like that is like automatically like
Mm-hmm.
sexual and
Right.
like I'm attracting attention just like, by being out of my workout wear as opposed to like if you don't like have as
Yeah.
much of a body, right? And then it's like
Yeah.
then I have to feel like can I walk down the street because like I live in New York City, like is that safe like to garner like this
Right.
attention right now? Like that sort of thing too. So like I've really felt how like men and like the masculine like have really defined kind of like my experience like around like style and my body growing
Yeah.
up.
That's interesting what you say about New York too, because, well, since I now work from home most of the time, like I don't walk past people that much anymore. And when I used to work downtown, but then also the times I'd go to New York for work and stuff, like that's also like a thing. Like sometimes it's not even people we work with, but it's just like literally your journey. Like for me, it'd be like parking garage to where hotel to there, like you get all kinds of attention and comments too. So I think you're probably like even more aware of it because of the amount of people you're around or that you walk outside and things like that. Like I have so much more time, even if I'm traveling from car to grocery
Yeah.
store or whatever it is, alone, but you have so many more people and like opportunities for people to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally. And it's like we should be able to walk down the street and just have that be like a normal
Yeah.
experience, like
Yeah.
in the world. And hopefully that's something that's like changing within, you know, the
Yeah.
whole, you know, Me Too movement, all the things that are happening with the rise of the feminine and stuff like that. So hopefully that is something that's changing. But yeah, has like really like informed, I feel like, my experience and like my
Yeah.
experience in my body.
I think that's a lot of the work that I've noticed is healing or has been healed or that I've worked through in the past however many years is like how I react to those situations. So before it would be like very internalized, like, oh, I shouldn't dress like this, or this is the attention I don't want, that sort of thing. And now, like, even though I'm like, roll my eyes, are you kidding me, sort of thing, I'm just kind of like, I'm just being me, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's how I've been able to tell like what the biggest indicator is. You are saying like leggings and a sports bra. The past couple years were the first time I felt okay when it's like 90 to 100 degrees out running in my sports bra. Like it's
Yeah.
fine. But it felt like so shamey to me. It felt like other women are going to judge me or look at
Yeah.
me, that sort of thing. And I think it's probably because I did that, or I was judging other women, or I grew up like that, and now like I don't. It doesn't bother me. So it's kind of funny because I'm like, maybe people aren't looking at you.
Yeah, no, everybody's really looking
Yeah.
at themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's like the thing behind it. I'm curious because, and I also want to talk about this because I think that this is something you've really helped me with, um, or that we uncovered when we've done some like deeper healing around
Mm-hmm.
my body stuff is like how our mothers have played into the
Yeah.
whole formation of like how we love our bodies and the whole thing, because in my experience, and I'm curious to hear yours, um, my mom was very like, you should be your natural self, like
Yeah.
no makeup, like every my phone is just ringing. Am I still on?
Yep, you're still here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So so my mom would be like, she never like wore makeup, like never like blow dried her hair, like very like, like let your freak flag fly, which is like great, and like never dye your hair, like all the things. I mean, she's like very all natural. And I had on my legs, I've had a spider vein problem like growing up, and I've another thing that I've worked on with you, which I want to talk about. But I had been like to her, like, I want to get these zapped. And she was like, no, like your legs are beautiful. I will like never pay for you to like get that zapped. And I was like, oh, okay. But like some things in life, if it makes you happy, like you should just do it. And I've like lived with this guilt of being like, if I go and do that, like, am I not being true to like my natural self? Or like, I have really curly hair. I blow dry it all the time, but that's how I feel good. Like to me, like that's what like feels nice. So I blow dry it. Not like her way. And she's always just been like, well, you have beautiful curly hair, and like, blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, no, like this is just what makes me like feel good in me. And I don't right now. I'm getting my hair nice and healthy, but like I love being really blonde. Like I love it. I love it. I love it. And there had been like a lot of guilt like from her, like around that too, of like trying to be like something I'm not, and God gave you this hair color, and like God made you perfectly. Right? So it was like always this thing of, you should be like supernatural. And I think we don't always have to, like subscribe to that. But that's been like a heavy voice in my mind, in my body story. And then kind of having that guilt of being like, well, I don't love this about myself and I want to change it.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about this. Yeah, it was so interesting to hear you share that with me when we were working together, because it was really eye-opening for me, because mine was more of the opposite. My mom was totally comfortable with dyeing her hair. She didn't do it so much when we were younger, but I think it was more of like being more frugal, but does like the gel, or not gel, the acrylics on her nails, like all that kind of stuff. And she was very much, she always talked about being on a diet. And it's just things I heard growing up, and like drinking Diet Coke, not Coke, like that sort of thing. And those were things that, intentional or not, which they, of course they weren't, they imprinted on me for sure. And so I, along with, I think, just me having anxiety naturally and like everything else, like it was something I kind of latched on to. And at the time in like high school and things like that, when you're noticing boys looking at you and I felt unseen and all this other stuff, like it felt like, well, if I can control how much I'm not eating, basically, or, try to get skinnier or work out all the time or do these things, then that's what the gold standard is, because I had heard it in many different ways. And messaging was a little different too when we grew up, but still it was that. And it's interesting because I think like my mom was conditioned that way too, right? And I was just thinking about your mom and how you said like natural, like my mom got in trouble for piercing her ears when she was younger, like because her mom thought that that wasn't okay. It should be, the body that she gave you and stuff. So it's interesting how those things pass along. And even, I was thinking about this when we were talking about boobs, like, because I have a hard time with mine too now. My mom like purposely told me, or not purposely, but shared with me that she didn't nurse when she had us because she was I think she just didn't want to, which is fine. But she also heard that like it's going to destroy your boobs. And so I even like wrestled when deciding what to do with my kids because of that in my head. And I ended up nursing and it was fine. But my boobs aren't great now. And I think that is not always the case. It's, lots of things, being pregnant, all this stuff. And so I have like this weird like thing about like how they look now, even though I wanted them to be smaller, because then I can wear, you know, things like this that I didn't wear in college without having like them in my face, basically. But I feel really weird about that's like the main thing that I still struggle with, you know, with all of that. So yeah, it's and then me being a mom, I'm like, gosh, how do I talk? You know, how do I talk to them? Because my daughter has very curly hair, and I'm reading her books about curly hair so that,
Yeah.
you know, she learns about it and like maybe likes it and stuff. And I'm like, oh, am I like pushing that too hard? But I
No.
think it's more of what you said, like doing what you like, what makes you feel good. Like if she was like, I want to straighten my hair, I think internally I'd be like, oh, her hair's so
Yeah.
beautiful. But I'd be like, yeah, straighten your hair. Like, and
Yeah.
that's like when we worked together, when you said you can't wear the oversized stuff or you don't feel comfortable in it, it's like I'm kind of like smirking a little bit because I'm like, I think you could in the right
Yeah.
stuff. But if
Well,
you don't
right.
want to,
Yeah.
and if you're not going to feel good in it, I'm not going to push that kind of stuff on you because it I do these body shape assessments for people if they want, but it doesn't really do you any good to have like rules or things like that if it doesn't make you feel good in it.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think that also we did um you helped me with when I was, you know, picking out outfits for my photo shoot, and I had one outfit that was more tight fitting,
Yeah.
and then another that was like a, you know, a looser dress, and it was definitely too big for my frame, but you were like, you can alter that, you know, like, and then like
Yeah.
I went in and did that, and it's a way to wear an oversized look on a person who's smaller, and it doesn't make me look like I'm wearing like a bag.
Yeah. And your unique body shape is you've got a couple factors that make it difficult. I was like kind of laughing too because I'm like, I think I have your measurements in my drawer right
Yeah, you
beside me.
probably do.
But I'm like you have, like you said, you know, more of a curvy frame. Like your bust and hip measurement is much bigger than or it has a bigger difference than your waist measurement, which is common for, you know, lots of women. But then on top of it, you're very petite. And so then there's that to work with too. And I think that's what makes it more of a challenge as well. Cause then you're like figuring out, you know, the length of things and stuff like that, or things not having really big shoulders on you when you buy them, and figuring that out. And sometimes you do need to get stuff tailored, and that's can be a bummer. Like after you've invested in something in time, but also if you think you're gonna love it, then that's kind of how you can work with that too.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I feel like what I've learned from working with you is that like if I'm like really love it, like there's a way for like me to like make it work for
Yeah,
myself. And then, you know, it's about finding those other brands that work with my body because I've noticed that like anything mainstream, like say like The Gap, Zara is another good one. Like it's huge. Like
yeah,
I have like very small shoulders, like close to get, I don't know what to say, like a small width or like
yeah,
across.
yeah. Some of
So
it, yeah,
nothing ever fits me in the shoulders, even if it fits in length and everywhere else. Like it's always big right there, you know?
yeah,
And it's really hard to find things that are like work, or it's like you have to buy something like really expensive because like
hmm,
the more expensive lines like play to, you know, that more like tailored fit,
right.
right?
Or the
And that's not,
fabrics, yeah.
yeah, and that's not always a reality to be like buying that
No,
stuff
it's
like
not.
all the
Yeah,
time. So, yeah, there's definitely that aspect of like having a body yet being like petite. And then like petite sizing is like, I would say like I am petite, but I'm also like, I'm 5'3¾". Like,
I
I'm not
like.
exactly like,
Yeah,
you know, in the petite range, like in the
right.
crotch, it will be really weird and stuff
Yeah,
like that. But, or like the armpits it will even, if like it fits in the shoulders, but then like up in the armpit, it will be like squeezing, you know, and then I'll just be like,
yeah,
what is happening? So there's like, I feel like a big like gap in like what all these like standard clothing stores are making because I feel like it can't be suitable for most people.
Yeah, and I loved it when Karen was on and she was talking about how like if the arm, like if the sleeve is too tight or something like that, like if it's tight on you, like it's probably not fitting lots of people. And like just even hearing her say that, because she is just like the master of fit and patterning and all of that, like that even made me feel better because I was like, well, sometimes I buy clothes that are smaller than the measurements listed because maybe it is a more oversized fit, but I want it to be more like skimmed, like I have an envision of how I want it to look, but then the sleeves are too tight. So then I'm like, well, that's my fault for buying the clothes that are like too small for me, but it could be that was how it was graded. And how they make bigger sizes and smaller sizes is the analogy I use is like photocopying something and enlarging it, like just like making it like one size bigger. And obviously, when you do that, crazy things happen. So it's hard. And I feel like sometimes the answer is like, well, wear knits, right? Like wear stretchy things. And sometimes you don't want to wear stretchy things, like you want
Yeah,
to wear
no,
things
sure.
that are more tailored too, which
Yeah.
makes it even harder. I was going to say too, with the like oversized fit thing too, I like the thing I've been noodling on a lot more lately is dressing, like using style, so using your archetypes, but also maybe jumping into archetypes that you don't embody as much to feel a certain way. So what I
Yeah.
mean by that is, I don't know, I used it as an example in one of my stories. I was talking about how I went to an event last week and I was nervous and all of that, and I wanted to think about what I wore to the event to communicate certain things, which was like inviting but stylish. So like I don't want to look stylish but cold, right? I still want to feel like inviting and maybe a little fun. But I wanted to like feel like a CEO because I need like a little bit of a pep talk when I do things like to
Yeah.
like really get there. But then I was also like, there's potential that who I'm talking to might want their clothes to feel like very comfortable, like they're not interested in things that don't fit in their life. So I was like, let's find something that's got a stretchy waistband in it but still looks cute so I can show that. And so I think for you, even like sometimes I feel like I don't give a direct answer because I'm trying to tease information out of people. But I'm like, well, how do you want to feel in it? Or how do you want to look? Oh, that dress, like, I actually think you could wear that oversized. I don't think it has to be tailored if you want to like feel this, you want to embody the archetype that's maybe, yeah, more like loose and relaxed, or maybe it's more for you. You had the maiden was your main one, and then I think the crone was like your
The crone.
secondary one. And maybe like the crone doesn't wear things super fitted, at that
Yeah.
point. So like, how do you want to show up and how do you want to play with it? And if it doesn't make you feel great, then like
Don't do it.
toss it, right? But yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I loved actually when I did the intuitive um, style edit with you was the maiden and the crone like really gave me these two like polarities to switch between because in the
Yeah.
maiden I can like show my boobs like
Mhm.
wear something like more like the younger like version of me to embody, and
Yeah.
then the crone can be maybe more of like that like baggier like dress like my kind of like older self. So it's kind of like it's given me that permission to like jump between like these two dualities that I've like grown up with, like looking at like my body
Yeah. And
in
being
this
like, it's
way.
okay. Yeah. Like, it's okay to be the maiden. Like, you
Yeah.
carry that energy really well. And like, the maiden is also like magical and like adventurous and maybe hasn't been so tainted, by things and stuff. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
giving yourself permission to dress like that. Because I think you said to me, and I know I've felt it too, like, being the age that we're getting into, like, I think it's really an assessment pretty often of like, is this appropriate or not? Like, am I
Yes.
trying to look like I'm still, in my 20s, like whatever. And it's interesting because I feel more confident in what I wear now than I did in my 20s because I'm like been along on this journey, I've like grown, and I've heard that true for people older than me sometimes too, where you go with it, but I still question it sometimes,
Yeah, no, and it's hard. I think I had messaged you when I had bought a lavender jumpsuit. I was like,
Oh
"Can I
yeah,
wear
yeah,
a
yeah,
lavender jumpsuit?" And you
yeah,
had been like, can I wear these short cutoff shorts? Like,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. Like,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Like, you think you approach a certain age, and I'm like, oh, like, do I look like a teenager, like, in this? But, like, if it
Yeah.
makes you feel good, you should do it. And I feel like in my early adult years here, I'm, like, just finding, like, my personal style, and so much of it had been, like, to fit into trends or to, like, buy, like, what was in the stores, or, you know, like, do, like, what everybody else, like, was doing. And, like, I never really, like, felt confident, like, to really, like, do my own thing, like, probably until, like, my, like, late 20s.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm 35 now, so 36 actually now. But yeah, and I mean, like, and I love clothes too, and it's like as very Torian and Venusian and all the things. So like, it really means a lot to me, like, as a form of self-expression. And if that is a lavender jumpsuit one day,
Yeah.
like that should be great. And if I want to have my boobs out when I'm embodying that maiden archetype, like, power to me, right?
Yeah.
So
And I think what's fun is that you can see how it carries over in like the types of clothing you wear too. Cause I'd be like, I think the lavender jumpsuit is maiden energy too, right? Like,
yeah,
so like just thinking about how it makes you feel. I can feel like mine's the queen. Like I can feel like a queen in some comfy pants, but like how I style it together, or if I literally just do my hair that day, like I'm feeling really good. I think you have that with your hair too, right? Like
oh
when you get
yeah,
your hair
no,
done, like
totally. My vanity is wrapped up in my hair. If I'm
yeah,
having a good hair day, everything is good. If it's not,
everything's in place.
it's
Yeah.
like totally. And it's actually so funny because when I first met you, and I had, like, really wanted to be friends with you, and we were in a business group together, I was just like, girl with the great hair all the time.
What a compliment. Yeah. Because I don't think I have great hair
Yeah, I was
nowadays.
like,
So
I
it's
need
very
to be
nice.
friends with her so I can figure that out. But yeah, so much of it for me is in that. And I think we also discussed something you helped me with was just braiding my hair, right, on the side. Like, what can I do on days when, like, because I have really
Yeah.
curly hair, washing it and blowing it out is literally like an event of,
Right.
like, the week. So I don't do it that often. I wash my hair, like, once a week. I've been known to really stretch it at
Yeah.
times,
Why not?
um, because in these work at home times, you know, that's what's
Well,
happening.
and it can also be an investment too, right? Like when you go get it done. So you're
Yeah,
gonna want to like keep that as long as possible.
yeah, totally, totally. And I love getting my hair done. It's like one of my, like, greatest, like, luxuries to go do. But yeah, when I can, you know, hairstyles we talked about that you helped me with, you know, like a side braid to, like, help, like, tame it down and keep it looking, like, cuter and neater, and not having to put in the effort of
Yeah, like it's style.
all
It's
the
like
things.
your that could be part of like your I use the word signature look loosely because I don't
Yeah.
think everybody like needs a signature look, but which is funny because at the time I wasn't doing that with my daughter's hair, Penny. But that's what I've like started figuring out too to stretch her hair is to braid it. And I was like, that's gonna be my plan in the winter. It's to braid her hair most of the time when it's like frizzy and doesn't have the hydration anymore. So I think it's funny that I
Yeah.
told you that a while ago and then I needed to like arrive at it myself for my daughter. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so funny. Penny is like my little hair kindred spirit for sure.
Yeah. Aw. Um,
Um,
oh, go
but
ahead.
and then I think another, like, little hack that we had talked about, like, similar to the hair thing, was just like brightening up the face. We worked on that too, right?
Yeah.
Of just, like, little things of, like, wearing, like, a lip gloss, or doing something with, like, your eyebrows, and just, like, really, like, basic little things, like, to do
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
are, like,
Because you were,
specific to me, that, like, can make me feel, like, really good, and I don't have to put in a
yeah.
lot of effort.
Yeah. Because you were talking about that you wanted to go blonde, but you weren't ready for
Yes.
your hair health and stuff to go there. And so it was like, well, what are other ways we can do that? Yeah. And that's what I like. That's why I usually try to get a feel for someone first. And you and I know each other
Yeah.
anyways, but to understand like what at the point of their like style, let's say slash beauty routine like they're looking for, because for some people the discovery might be that actually they love their clothing, but maybe they just want like something like that, right? Someone else I worked with said like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't know a lot about like the colors that would look good for me with like my eye makeup and stuff. And I was like, yeah, like let's do that, you know, and trying, unless people are willing to put in the time to keep it easy and simple too, because it can also feel like a failure too when you don't, like, you buy something and it's fun and then you don't like utilize it, or you know, don't do enough of it. So I try to do things that feel not always like effortless, but like, oh, I have it sitting here. Like my favorite thing I recommend to lots of people is this tinted lip balm, because it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's basically chapstick and tinted, and it's what I'm wearing right now, and it like made me look good to go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Anything that's like a quick like fix like that is like so good in my book, because I'm not like a stand there and do my makeup for like 30 minutes type person.
No. No.
I just get like way too like need to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so having that and like just knowing those little things like customized to me were like super, super helpful. And then I think the last thing that I definitely want to talk about that you helped me with is back, I mentioned the spider vein on my legs thing, and
Yeah.
just really helping me like learn to like love my legs and, you know, be able to, not a big shorts person over here, you know, and definitely have worn way more of them this summer in shorter dresses and all those things. And, but I think my favorite part of what we did was you had created a meditation for me to send like a golden light like up and down my legs and like into my skin, and that was just like such like a lovely like and supportive way to be able to like connect with them and like to really like make it a practice, because doing that like really like brings you into like that like self-acceptance of being like, okay, like I can like love like this part of my body no matter like what it looks like.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I was just like, it like hit me. I was like, oh, your dress that you wore for your photo shoot wasn't like ankle length, right? It was like a little below the
No,
knee,
no, it was
right?
short. It was above my knees.
It was
Yeah,
above your
for
knee. So
sure.
that's huge. That like
Yeah,
that's
especially
it.
for being photographed, because
Yeah.
like I definitely am like more fine with it like in my day to day, but like if I'm going out to see people or like being photographed, like absolutely not.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely like very liberating to like be able to do that and just be like, you know, like this is fine. Like who cares?
Yeah. And I like I could sense from you that you were like, I try to like meet people where they are and maybe
Yeah.
push just a little bit. And I remember it was because we were talking about a dress that we were chatting about, and I was talking about the length, and you were like, I'm gonna have to do a lot of work on my legs if it's not floor length. And I was like, why?
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen your legs in person. I've only seen the top half of you, but why? And then once like, you know, you told me more about it, and I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm not just going to be like, no, you should wear this. Like you can wear this, you know. I think that
Yeah.
can be really hard or really damaging. Like when you hear people say, well, you can wear that. You know, you look great, or you're so skinny or whatever, because that's fine and all, but that doesn't make us feel better about ourselves. But I was also like, but how can we like work on this a little bit? Like what's the healing, which we talked about, but also like what's some of the homework? What are things you can try? And if it's too much, like, yeah, let's back off of it. You know, you don't have to wear shorts. You don't have to wear
Yeah.
something, and see where that goes. And yeah, that's why I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. Your dress was, it was not like floor length that you wore. That feels really good.
No, yeah, it feels so good. And yeah, no, definitely thanks to the work that I've been doing with you. And I've just felt like in that session that we had, I just like like these things are so hard to talk about. You know, it's like our
Yeah.
deepest, most insecure things. And I just remember feeling just like so held by you that I was like, okay, like literally here's everything I find wrong with my body. And I
Yeah.
was just like word vomiting. And then at the end I was like, I've never told this to anyone before, you know, and like I really haven't. So you hold a beautiful space,
Oh,
and
thank
I
you.
love all of your offerings so much. And my next mission for sure is a closet cleanse with you,
Yes, I have that on my list. Yeah.
and editing that down, because I think we've talked about this a lot too, about sustainable fashion being, you
Yeah.
know, an important thing right now. And I'm looking to really like capsule clothing or do
Yeah.
something like that, I
Yeah.
think, and be able to do things with what I already have in my closet. Because, like you were saying, like I have so much stuff in there that I just don't even look at. So I'm excited for you to bring like new vision to it and help me
Yeah.
sort through
Sometimes it's
everything.
nice too to have someone else look at your closet and also remind you like that you have great things. I had that happen before my photo shoot. I had a friend, Beth, a friend here, and this is what I do. Like I'm helping style people, but I was still like, what between these outfits and I have this backdrop, whatever. And at one point she was just like, you have such great clothes. I want to shop your closet. And not that I was like, oh, my clothes are terrible, but just to even hear someone else say that it is like brand new to them, right? They can
Yeah.
feel really nice and like, yeah, I do have good stuff. Or, oh, I could wear this 3 ways or whatever that may be. And you're in a time of transition with the move, you're moving.
I am, yeah.
And so I think those are also, not that you have to be in a time of transition to assess things, but those are always like nice moments to
Helpful.
do it, especially when you find your new home or new journey, like to kind of celebrate how you feel it, I think feels really special, really nice.
Yeah, totally. And then like having like just someone being able to, because like I have like such emotional attachment to things too,
Yeah.
that like I need kind of need that to be like, no, you have like 5 of those, like you can like, like move on from it, sort of thing. And then just also things like I've had no idea how to style. So that's also, I mean, I message you all the time being like, can I wear this with this? So
You have found, as I say, you found some great stuff this summer. Like I feel like you got a
yeah.
couple of pieces that were like really great stuff, and
Yeah,
also
no. And I mean, like, I'm thinking, since having worked with you, I think about it differently now. Like, right?
mm,
And then when you think
yeah,
about it differently, I think I got like 5 pieces that, like, I know I'm gonna have for a really long time.
yeah,
And they're not like anything like fast fashion that I'm gonna throw away, or like, it's gonna fall apart like eventually. Like, they're all like good investment pieces that
yeah,
fit, the archetypes that you've pointed out for me with the you know, um, silhouettes that we've decided like look
yeah.
best. And it just really like makes it like a lot easier to shop, because like I know I'll be keeping these pieces, and like they're not like, emotional quick buy pieces, or like just going to the store and being like, I'll get this and it's
Yeah.
fun,
I
and then I
like
don't end up wearing it.
I like your perspective too. So I get really excited about anything that feels like a little different or a little bit of a
Yeah.
challenge. And like thinking about sustainability is top of mind for me too. But I also recognize that it's not always accessible for people depending on the way you go about it. There are ways you can make it accessible for sure. But I also have heard you say things like, well, for this moment in time, I don't feel the need to spend, X amount of dollars. But, this site does have some sustainable options, or they do have a mission that we feel good
Yeah.
about, that sort of thing. So I like to like your balance with it, because honestly, it would make my job a whole lot easier probably if it was just like, we're going to find like the best sustainable products that I can like see what they're doing on their site, that sort of thing. But that comes at a cost because of all the practices and fair labor wages and things like that they're doing. So I think I like that you like have a balance with that too, because it's when I work with other people too, I don't want people to think that everything working with a stylist is inaccessible either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
think I've totally felt like nothing has been like, everything has felt really good, like in price
Yeah.
range, and also just like that knowing that like I like it so much and it's so good for my body that like it's going to be for the long term.
Right.
Like, which is
Exactly.
important. Like I think like at at my age now, I will say, like, as whether or not it's appropriate, or I feel like it's appropriate to wear or not appropriate to wear for the age, I want to know that I'm going to have it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I've shifted my thinking a bit like that too now. And when I notice when I've had something for a long time, it feels like really like celebratory. Like
Yeah.
the other day, I had a shirt on that I was like, I bought this at this place, which means I was shopping there before I changed to this other place that I like better, which means I've had this for at least 7 to 8 years. And I was like, hell yeah. Like, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. I feel the same thing. And I think my favorite pieces are things I've had for like probably 10, like 12 years at this point.
Yeah.
So I totally relate to all of that.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. Well, I recognize we're getting close to an hour. So thank you so much for coming and chatting. It's so good. I mean, I love chatting with you anytime. And is there anything, I always ask people, you don't have to, but is there anything you'd want to like leave people with that you've thought about on your body journey or style journey, or anything we haven't touched on that you wanted to chat?
Oh, I guess just keeping in line of sustainability. Like
Yeah.
maybe I'll just I just found out about this really great brand. It's called 4 Days,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I just got some like really cute ribbed pants from there.
Okay, cool.
So which as a, work at home, um, healer. And they were also something, a similar style you had picked out for me when we were discussing my work wardrobe, which, as a body
Oh,
worker
yeah.
and energy healer is like kind of like an elevated casual
Yeah.
sort of thing, but it's cheaper and it's all sustainable, 100% cotton. So I feel like that's, if anybody on here is looking for sustainable companies
Love it.
that are really good, I just feel like us shouting out a few right now could be helpful. I'm always looking for them. So,
Yeah.
and I deeply feel about the earth. So very present on my mind lately. But that 4 days one. And then I'm actually, I'll have to send this to you, looking to get a sweatsuit from this company. It's called Pangea. And all of their stuff is regenerative, and they have like the best practices. It's a little more high end for sweatsuits, but that is my vibe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been loving that. And then we had Girlfriend Collective for workout clothes.
Yeah. They have
I'm
great
super
stuff.
super into their stuff. Oh, and Faraday is my new favorite, where I
Heard of
just
that.
got my new dresses from. They have all of their stuff is, made according to sustainable standards too. And it's kind of like a cool hippie, like,
Yeah.
vibe.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love when we can share like good places that we find. It's more high end too, for sure. But the one, probably my favorite one is Doan right now because
Yeah.
they have really beautiful stuff. But I just read an article about them the other day because there's a whole thing going on about sustainable fashion and how like what does sustainable even mean, like, because it's like a list
Yeah.
of all the things you could be checking off the boxes for. Do you start to get into labor practices, things like that? um, and they have no issue. I don't even think they call themselves sustainable because they're like, to achieve that is all the high bars, but they consider everything they do,
Yeah.
like who produces it, the fabrics, like the method of transportation, all of that. So I just think it's fascinating to learn more about the companies and how they think about it too, and how forthcoming they are when they communicate that to their consumers. That's obviously a higher trend, that people are being much more transparent about it. And I think it's just really, really cool. So.
Yeah, no, I love that stuff. I also, do you remember the name of the one you sent to me? But they like do all the like, sent me like a skirt with like lemons on it and like,
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. It's gonna bother me. They sell at Anthropology too, actually. But yeah, I'll have to put it like in the comments
yeah, put in the
afterwards. But
comments.
yeah, it's one of my like favorite
Yeah, their stuff is
like more like in your face, kind of like if you're looking for something a little more bold, like brands right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's lots of good stuff.
Oh yeah,
It's cool.
Christy Dawn. Yes.
Yeah, I
For
love, well, Christy Dawn, you said you
lovely
even
dresses.
paid a little extra for the method of shipping, right? In terms
Yeah,
of
for the
like,
carbon neutral shipping. Yeah.
yeah,
And everything they do, like the dyes, down to the dyes, is like completely sustainable. And
yeah,
they send it like in this beautiful everything in the packaging is like recyclable and all
yeah,
the things. So yeah, I think it's one of the things we can do and feel really good about doing is, in the fashion industry is huge in this, right? And
yeah,
the climate change movement. So it makes me just feel more powerful when I buy,
yeah.
clothes from these places, like being able to like make a difference because I love clothes and
I
I will
know.
never
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Sorry, I have like one more because I just got
Yeah.
really excited. Miranda Bennett, which you
Oh,
started looking
yes.
at,
So
and
good.
for anybody
Yeah.
watching that has an interest in the different types of ways places can be more sustainable. My favorite thing about them, aside from dyeing, they dye everything like plant dyed in
Yeah.
house, is um, how they make their patterns. So if you've ever seen someone actually cut out a pattern before, if you know someone that knows how to sew, they make sure there's the most minimal amount of waste. And when I purchased one of their pieces years ago, which I still wear all the time, I was like, oh wow, yeah, like it's like a sliver of fabric that's left over. I just think that's like so smart. And
That's
again, it's like
amazing. Yeah.
thinking ahead, like the mindset of like planning for it and like thinking of creative ways to do that, I think is like so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like in our culture, we don't think about like how we can be
Usually, how
less,
quick can you get it?
yeah, how
Yeah.
quick can we, how cheap can it be? Like,
Yeah.
not how can we do this to be like the least wasteful and to use like every single part of like the materials.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That was such a like great way to end it. I love it. That's like great resources. So, yeah, send me some of the ones your favorites too, and I'll put those in the comments along with the other brand that I cannot think of
Yeah,
off the
I
top of my
feel like
head.
now like all of them are just like coming to my brain when I said let's shout them
Yeah,
out.
so
They're
you
like
can jump on too and put
all left
information
my
on those.
head,
Yeah.
but I mean, especially if you like comfy clothing, packed apparel, meet the label. I just discovered
Yeah.
Nikki, um, that does all like organic underwear and stuff like that, and bras.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
ordered some. I'll have to keep you posted on how it goes. But for our nether regions, we want to be
Yeah.
putting on the good stuff. But yeah, I'll send you a list of things and we can drop it in.
I love
And
that.
yeah, thanks for having
Awesome.
me. This is
Thank
so
you.
fun.
This is so good. Yeah, thanks so much for coming. And yeah, anybody that's interested in seeing what Lauren does, check her out. And if you have any questions or want to be part of one of these in the future, just shoot me a DM. Awesome. All right. Have a good one.
Bye. Talk to you
All
later.
right. Bye.